If you are interested in the Skype therapy services that I provide, do please go to my website and email me for more information. Online psychotherapy is becoming more and more popular, both because of the obvious convenience of online therapy or counseling sessions, but also because this represents a new approach to helping you manage common emotional problems such as anxiety and depression, or OCD, or PTSD, or any other form of emotional stress. The approach that I teach is based on mindfulness therapy, which really focuses on helping you change the emotional patterns of habitual reactivity that cause anxiety and depression. These reactive patterns become established often in childhood, and they stay with us through most of our life until we begin to develop much more consciousness of these underlying, essentially unconscious habits. People are not used to challenging these habits. They think that they are natural and unchangeable, but all habits can be changed, including the emotional habits of anxiety and depression. The key is to start to focus conscious awareness on those habits. Habits rely on unconsciousness. They thrive when we do not look at them, when they're allowed to simply proliferate unconsciously. But the moment you start to focus conscious awareness on habits, then they begin to change and begin to lose their momentum. So the whole focus of mindfulness therapy is to apply conscious awareness to your emotional habits. This is by far the most direct way to transform anxiety and depression or other forms of emotional suffering. Instead of talking about our anxiety, instead of talking about the history and trying to understand or to gain insight into why we are anxious, instead of trying to change our belief systems, trying to challenge our thoughts about anxiety, we instead look at the underlying process itself and how we have become so identified with our emotional habits. It is almost impossible to convince a person that they should not feel anxious if they are identified with a belief system that creates anxiety. Simple, rational argument will not change that belief, because the belief is charged emotionally with that anxiety. You have to start changing the anxiety itself. And one of the most important things that we learn during mindfulness therapy of anxiety or depression is that what really causes that emotional suffering are not thoughts, but emotional imagery. That how we see the thoughts or beliefs in the mind is what gives them power and what makes them real for us. So one of the central things we do during our therapy sessions together is explore the imagery of the emotions and making that imagery conscious, because when we can see how the imagery works, then we can begin to change it. we can change the emotional imagery. And when you change that imagery, you end up changing the emotion itself. There is plenty of evidence for this to be found in our language. When we say things like, I feel overwhelmed by my emotions, that indicates something about the emotional imagery. That the imagery itself occurs at a higher position relative to us. The emotion literally is above our head, overwhelming us. It also tells us that the emotional imagery must be very large, because it is practically not possible to be overwhelmed by an emotion that's very small. It must be very large to overwhelm you. So this is what we explore during mindfulness therapy. We start to dissect this emotional imagery, and then start exploring changing it in a very practical, direct way. This provides one of the most effective ways to actually change the intensity of our emotions. So, if you'd like to learn more about emotional imagery and how to change anxiety and depression by changing its imagery, go to my website, and then if you'd like to schedule a session with me, simply email me. I work with people throughout the United States, North America, beyond, to Europe, the UK, the Middle East, and as far away as Australia. So as long as you've got a good internet connection, then it's possible for us to have a Skype therapy session. So please simply email me. Tell me more about yourself, what you have tried to date, and then I will be happy to explain to you more about how mindfulness therapy can work, and then we can schedule a trial session so you can see for yourself the immense effectiveness of using image reprocessing for changing emotions. So, thank you.